What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Deborah Rao YouTube channel. We're back with another fun one, and we do these all over the summer. I kind of dive into different pieces out there, different rooms out there, quarterback room, running back room, wide receiver room, and who's battling for those roster spots or who's battling for the starting job. And we're going to start with Michigan, my team out here, the Michigan Wolverines, defending national champions. Got to throw that in out there for all my Ohio State fans. What is Michigan quarterback room going to look like? So I think that's the big battle right now that we're talking about when we're going into it. Last year, J.J. McCarthy led them to a national title. And I say led when it was really, when you talk about their offense, the rushing offense, right? When we're talking about last year, Blake Corum, JJ was very, very complimentary piece in that offense. He did a good job of leading them to where they needed to go, and they probably don't win a title without him, but they didn't really lean on him, right? When you look at their offense last year, 12th in the nation, 35.9 points per game. Total offense, though, 62nd. You really saw game scripts dictate that. You saw like the Penn State game where they ran the ball in the second half, pretty much the entire second half, right? So the yards per game weren't always there. Rushing attempts and rushing percentage was always a little higher, right? Average margin was first because our defense was phenomenal last year with Michigan. And I'm going to throw some R's and My's in here. I know you're supposed to be, not supposed to be a fan on these things, but I am. I'm a Michigan fan, so you're going to hear that a little bit. So go ahead and put in the comments. You can yell at me all you want. Plays per game, though, 124th, right? Passing attempts per game, 120th, and passing percentage, 117th. So really, when you're looking from a passing perspective, that's where you see kind of Michigan where they didn't elevate their game, right? And I think this year, looking at 2024 team, they're going to have a more of a passing attack, or at least more of a balanced attack, right? Losing Blake Corum is huge. That offensive line's got some new pieces around there, not necessarily new to the team, but just new to starting. Different things going on in that Michigan room that we're going to be looking at. Now, when we're talking about the head guy, offensive coordinator Sherrone Moore, right? Moore is a fantastic, probably one of the best play callers out there in college football. He absolutely crushed it last year, with Michigan. You could dive into all of that Alabama kind of drive to go to the overtime. He talks about that. The Penn State, hey, can't block the edge. Let's just do power rush. Like Sherrone Moore is one of the best play callers out there. I think he's underrated, actually, based on kind of what you see out there. And really, what does his offense look like, right? What does he try to do? First, power rushing attack. That's number one, right? You're going to look at this. He's not going to go away from that identity. He's a Harbaugh mentor guy. He loves Harbaugh. That's really their emphasis there. Emphasis on play action. I do think that they use play action really well. They use it a lot better last year. This year, I think it's going to be interesting. Maybe throw some RPOs in there if it is Alex Orji that's going to start. Or, hey, maybe, he just straight up play action, heavy sets, the things that they like to do last year. And then the big one for me is he's very good at adapting to personnel. The question I have is like these two quarterbacks, right? When we're talking about the quarterback battle right now, Alex Orji, Davis Warren, those are your two quarterbacks that are going at it. Those two guys have very different skill sets. So if you adapt to personnel, if you're going to go Alex Orji as your starting quarterback, you have to have kind of a different personnel scheme and philosophy out there than if you go Davis Warren, that more prototypical quarterback, right? So that is where if he's going to adapt, I really feel like, I hear a lot of Michigan fans and the message boards and all that talking maybe about splitting time between these guys like they did, right, with Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy a couple years ago. The problem I have is that these guys are so different. How are they going to adapt those personnel? How are they going to adapt those schemes? I think you have to call a game completely different. So that is, I think, is where this battle is going to be won game one. I think if I had to guess, that's how it would look. Unless these guys are so close in camp, they just can't make the decision. It's just weird for me. How are you going to adapt to this, right? Now, the other guys on this, QB3, Jack Tuttle, Jaden Denegal at QB4, and then Jaden Davis at QB5, the true freshman. These are the guys battling out in that QB room with that depth chart going on. Now, we're going to dive into each guy. So Alex Orji coming in here as a junior, 6'3", 236. He is a big guy. You're going to see composite rankings from both On3 and 247 Sports. 247 Sports had him as a 3-star QB 50. On3 had him as an athlete 12, 4-star. So this is just a distinction between what he was coming out. Like some just thought he was going to be, not a quarterback. 247 Sports did, so that's why he got that 3-star nod. Now, from like a stats perspective, he's got none, right? He did a little bit of rushing the last couple years, 86 yards last year in that touchdown. But from a throwing perspective, very, very, very raw. No numbers there. So this is where you talk about like, hey, will he be a good enough passer, right? That is really what you look at when you talk about Alex Orji and the strengths and weaknesses, the proven areas, right? So strengths for him, he's one of the most athletic dudes you've ever seen. Like on the field as a quarterback position, he is just light years ahead of other guys, right? And it's awesome when he's on the field because he adds an extra dynamic. He's a playmaker. He can make things happen with his legs. He can be that game breaker. He can be that dude that just makes things better for this team and can really kind of push this offense to new heights. I think he has a higher ceiling, right, than the other guys. Arm talent's there too. Arm accuracy is not always there, right? But that arm talent, he can sling it and he can kind of go there. And now we've seen this at Michigan before. Joe Milton, right? We've seen that kind of that arm talent that's just not accurate at those levels. But Alex Orji is definitely a better athlete than Joe Milton was. From an improvement area, though, lack of reps, just hasn't had it, right? So really, if you're defending national champion, how comfortable do you feel throwing Alex Orji out there with the lack of reps, right? Accuracy at all three levels. He struggles layering the football. Touch. Just not there. So with Alex, it's one of those things where he's got to learn how to, trust his arm, layer the football, make the easy throws, and not rely on his legs all the time. And that's the big one. He relies on his legs because that's what he knows. Now, I don't think that that's all he knows. It's just what he knows. And that's one of those things that Sharon Moore's going to have to do, build around him. His legs is an asset, though, so you can't get rid of it. But, teaching him timing, teaching him when to use his legs, when to throw the football, when to make dump offs, those things really matter. If they go heavy power rushing, I think this is Alex's job, right? I think that they're going to use him, utilize him as a runner as well, have him improve as a passer. That could really be where he stands. Now, when we talk about Davis Warren and we're talking about him, he's a no-star kid, right? When you're looking at him, 6'1", 195, really, truly just a project. A guy that, didn't get a ton of playing time early, came out. Now he's at Michigan after you transfer with the junior college, those type of things. When you're talking about him as a passer, now the big thing, the reason why this was a battle, right, a QB battle right now is because he had a really good spring game. 2 touchdowns. He looked good out there. And it was like, hey, is Davis Warren our best passer? I think that's really where it comes from. Scouting report there, strengths, understands the offense really well, right? Game manager. So when you're thinking of like, hey, what is Michigan's floor? He has a higher floor than Orji, in my opinion, just because Orji can make turnovers, can throw turnovers. He might not be accurate at all levels, where Warren can be. He's very accurate. He played within the system. He's your prototype QB, kind of in the pocket presence there. But he has a low ceiling, right? When you're talking about just what he can elevate this team to, will they go beat Ohio State? Can they go beat some of these teams in that conference now? Oregon, right? Will they be able to beat the new teams in the conference and compete for a Big Ten championship with Davis Warren? Or are they content going 10-2 and just competing for a playoff spot? Lack of reps at every level. Again, him too, right? So the reps thing is not just Alex Orji. The one thing I will say about Davis Warren is they actually talked about Davis Warren, about him being a very, very good practice squad quarterback. He's prepared defenses, so they've seen this. So he's definitely played against one of the best defenses in the Big Ten, and that's going to help him, right? So there is reps, but not game reps, which I think matters too. And then arm strength. I know he had a couple big throws in the spring game, but they've talked about his arm strength being a consistently be able to push the football down the field. That's their big question mark, I think, with Davis Warren. Now, these other guys, we want to go through them. We'll probably go through them a little quicker. Jack Tuttle's out there. He's been in college football a long time, since 2019, so he's got the most experience here. Hasn't really been able to get on the field, right, when you're thinking of like where he's at. In my opinion, he's QB 3 or 4. I think Jaden Denegal could definitely kind of jump ahead of him. He was a very highly touted recruit when he came out of high school. Just hasn't really put it together. The things that Tuttle does well, experience, game manager as well. Accuracy is there, kind of similar, really been around a long time. Improvement areas, again, low ceiling, lack of reps at every level, and arm strength. Really kind of, Davis Warren is the same thing. And it's except for the experience part. Like, Tuttle's been around a lot, played at a little high level, but just hasn't been on the field, right? He's played at high level programs, just hasn't been out there. Lost his kind of his QB2-ish job last year. I mean, really, he's really there just for depth, right? If these guys get hurt, that's what he's there for. The other intriguing prospect in this room is Jaden Denegal. Now, some people have mentioned him being like Ben Roethlisberger-esque. Like they talk about his play style and everything there. Now, last year he got into some games, 4 for 5, 50 yards, a touchdown. Nothing really like you're talking reps, right? The one thing you're going to notice from this Michigan QB room, reps, experience, not so much there, right? When you're talking about just getting on the field. But at 6'5", 235, big kid. And when you're talking about his scouting report, what he does well, arm strength and velocity. This kid gets it out. It gets it out quick and gets it to his guys fast. Dual threat ability as well. Like, I don't think he's a pure rusher stamp like Alex Orji, but he also has ability to kind of scoot a little bit. The Roethlisberger comp works because I think in the pocket, because he's so big and he's able to move, not get sacked, those type of things. Jaden Dennegal does that well, and he reads the field well. Actually, even from high school, you go back to his high school tape. I watched a little bit of it, and you'll kind of notice like, hey, progressions. Hey, okay, he's hitting his progressions. He knows where he's supposed to go with the football. Those type of things. Improvement areas, accuracy again, just big arm. Doesn't know how to layer it. Gets it. He gets it to the sideline, but he just misses guys a lot. A lack of reps, again, that's pretty big there. And then timing can be an issue for him. He knows where to get the football, but the timing part, right? Hey, where do I get it on this guy? How can I lead this guy? You see that like it's almost a little bit slow. He reads it well. He knows where defenses are. He knows where he needs to get the football, but the timing with his receivers is definitely something that he's kind of lacking in that area. Now, last guy that I want to kind of get into, because Jaden Davis, big time recruit coming over to Michigan, 6'1", 203, 9th ranked from 247. On3 had him at 8. Here was his high school numbers. He was one of the more, kind of college-ready guys coming from high school. Really similar to Dante Moore, former Michigan, recruit tried to go get him. Now he's at Oregon after playing at UCLA. Kind of reminds me of his profile in high school. Very high level, played very, well, had the numbers you see there from his last year, 3,300 yards, 43 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, not a rushing threat, but pretty good in the pocket, right? When you think of Jaden Davis, the things that really stand out for you as a quarterback there, football IQ. Really, this is why, this is one of my same kind of scouting reports on Dante Moore when I was going over Dante Moore's tape and just watching him play. IQ is there. Accurate and short intermediate, makes all those throws really well. Does a very, very good job of being accurate in the middle of the field, crossing routes, all of those things. Reads the field well as well. He can really kind of go through his progressions. He understands kind of his dump offs, where they're supposed to be. He understands the offenses really well. That's the thing that's going to stand out about Jaden Davis. It wouldn't shock me to see him get on the field much, much sooner than people think. Probably not this year, but next year. Improvement areas, size-ish, not the biggest guy. One of those things you're just going to have to live with him. Arm strength because of that size. And then the one thing he's definitely got to get into, the mechanics. He's got a weird release. I wouldn't say it's bad, because no, it's not bad, because if you ever see me throw a football, you would laugh. But I would say mechanics-wise, the release, the elongated release almost, it works for him. It definitely worked in high school because he had the production there, but he's probably going to shore that up a little bit, get a little tighter, get his feet set a little bit quicker, kind of maybe get that release tightened up a little bit. Those are the things that really stand out to me about Jaden Davis from a mechanics standpoint, but very, very solid recruit, a guy that Michigan should be lucky to have because of the inexperience ahead of him. Jaden Davis can come in here and compete. I think he's going to compete for QB3, in my opinion. I think he can. Now, final outlook here, what do we expect from this team? Overall, the big thing about, Michigan and what they have an identity. We know what their identity is. If you watch Michigan like I have, and you talk about them like I have done, I've watched them my whole life. Their identity during the Harbaugh era, run the football, play great defense, and limit, turnovers. That's really what they've tried to do, and that's what they've been able to do there. Going into this in the depth chart, Tyler Morris is there, Samaj Morgan, Frederick Moore, Amarian Stewart, freshman out there, CJ Charleston, guys like that. Never going to be household names from the wide receiver position, but capable, right? They have one of the best tight ends in the country. Colston Loveland is my tight end 1 right now in college football, and it's not biased. He is one out there. So that's going to help these quarterbacks as well. And then really the running back room, right? Donovan Edwards, Khalil Mullings, Benjamin Hall, Dunlap, Cabana, those guys, they're going to able to really kind of shore up this quarterback room a little bit, get the pressure off them a little bit. But if I had to pick who's going to start for this team, I think it's Alex Orji. I think he gives him the highest ceiling as long as he doesn't throw too many turnovers in fall camp, and gets into it and shows that he can take care of the football. I think Alex Orji is our quarterback here at Michigan, and I think he's going to do a great job this year with a high ceiling, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that he can turn into, when we're thinking of Jalen Milroe type quarterback, I think he can be that for Michigan. I think he's going to have faults, and I don't know if he's ever going to be perfect, but he's going to be a hell of a lot of fun out there watching for Michigan. So let me know what you think. Do you think he's going to be our starter? Do you think going forward that's the guy that we expect him to kind of be there at Michigan, or should they go a different route? Do you think they go the low ceiling, high floor type guy, just try to compete for that, that Big Ten championship again for the 4th year and try to beat Ohio State again? Or, how do you feel out there, Michigan fans, in terms of this battle? So appreciate you guys. As always, check out our patreon.com down in the description. We'd appreciate any support you can give.